Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Well, I think everyone has had time to work through most of Module 1. I have heard from some of you, this the whole viral problem that we're having is causing some changes in scheduling and workloads and unexpected busyness at this time of the year, something different than what we've had in the past. So some of you may be working a little bit behind, but that's okay. We're taking all of that in stride. And so if you don't have all of your Module 1 completed and turned in, don't hesitate to get it turned in. I will give you a little bit of grace on that. Some of you have contacted me about that, and I appreciate that. I hope everyone is well. I hope that you guys are taking everything in stride right now. I know that this is just sort of a busy and hectic time, but I wanted us to have a moment to connect, and I wanted to share with you some what I call housekeeping items about our course. This is my first fully online course with you all, and so I'm sort of learning that pathway along with you. You all may have more experience with that than I do. So I'm going to share some information with you all on this video today. And I will begin by saying, if you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to call, text, or email me. I will get back to you just as quickly as I possibly can. And I hope that you're finding I'm someone who is willing to work with you on any situations or problems that we have. So I'm going to go back a little bit, and I may be reiterating, I'm sure I'm reiterating what I've written to you in an email message, and I might have mentioned this in the earlier video. I don't think that I did. But I want to talk to you about our Canvas shell a little bit. This is my first semester to have a Canvas shell where most of the assignments were what we call locked assignments. We have blueprint courses so that we have consistency across our instructors on the different courses that we teach. And so we have some curriculum designers who have prepared specific assignments that everyone who takes the course will do, and that's what you're seeing in our Canvas shell. There is the option for an instructor to add additional assignments, but this course is usually taught over 16 weeks, and we're completing it in 8 weeks. Not only are we completing it in 8 weeks, but we're completing it in 8 weeks with all of these other changes in life, as I mentioned earlier. So I really felt like it would be a little too much to ask you all to do additional assignments. The locked assignments that you are seeing have been written by others, and I am not able to go in and make any edits or changes to those. And so what I've been doing is sending you all email messages with updated links to articles that are similar, if not the same, as the ones that were listed in the assignment. However, the links in those assignments sometimes would not take you to the site that you needed to go to. So now that we've figured that out, I've sent you suitable links for all of the modules. I do realize that you have a lot of information coming in on your email messages. And so I will send again the links for Module 2, 3, and 4. And then again, the week that Module 3 is where the assignments will be due within 2 weeks, I'll send then again Modules 3 and 4 and sort of help us phase out the changes and links and such that we have going through the course. That's the best way that I know to deal with the situation. So I hope you'll be patient with me. If you have any questions about the wording or what I'm expecting from what those assignments say, please feel free to ask. Several people have. It's okay if you want to email me an assignment and say, Dr. Grover, is this what you're looking for? And I'll take a look at it and give you guidance on the way, so that this should be a learning process. It shouldn't be just that you read and respond and hope, that that's what should be done. If you have any questions, I do want you to feel free to contact me. There are a couple of things that I want to point you to. I like to sort of know in advance where things are going. And of course, all of your modules went live for you last Monday. So I don't know how many of you have had a chance to sit down and sort of skim through those and see how they compare and sort of get a feel for the overview of the class. But there are some things that I've noted as I've been going through. In Module 1, you had 4 assignments. You had readings to do with each one. And you'll notice if you go to those assignments through the module link that's on the column on the left-hand side, when you look at the assignment and you read down to the bottom, there's a right arrow that says next. And then once you're into the module, you'll see down at the bottom, the right arrow for next and the left arrow for previous. And that is done that way because not only are the assignments listed in a descending order on the assignments side of the Canvas shell, but in the module, it sort of lets you know, okay, do this assignment first, then go to the next assignment, then go to the next assignment, and so on. And that is exactly how this course was designed. So when you began with the reflection and video assignment, that was the first one regarding curriculum development. That is just, you had some things possibly to look at, some reading to do, and or maybe it was just, I'm trying to recall exactly what that page looks like, but they wanted you just to give sort of what your knowledge is, your current knowledge before we've gone through the unit or the module. What are your thinking on these topics? And so you sent me those reflections. Then when you go to the next assignment, that is the one that has to do with some reading, and you were to write a critical analysis over the readings that you, and there might be a video thrown in for you to watch, but just the ideas and the topics on curriculum. And then you were to write a critical analysis. And so you do that and you send it to me. And then you go to the next assignment and it is about a discussion board. And they even tell you that you may want to use some of the thoughts that you had in your critical analysis as you write to the discussion board. And this is the discussion board, as you know, sort of takes the place of a classroom discussion since we're not all able to meet one another. And so that was the next assignment. And then finally, sort of a culminating assignment where you take into account sort of reflecting from your own perspective where you are in the work that you're doing now, not from somebody else's point of view, but yours, a reflection about this topic. And so you're sort of, you may use that first person, I thought this, I feel that, I believe this, my perception is, this was my experience in the past, and it's from whatever position you're in now. So it might be that you're a teacher, it might be that you are an instructional coach, you may be a principal, you may be an assistant principal. There's, whatever the position that you have in the district that you're in, you're writing from that perspective about curriculum. And then the next part is to do a literature review in that section. So a literature review is just what it says. You've read some literature already from the chapter that was assigned, and then you can seek out literature as well based on the topic and give a lit review. What are people saying currently, researchers on this topic? And then you are also given some guidance, a guiding document on making sure that the literature you chose was peer-reviewed literature. And what that means is that it's academic literature that has been reviewed by the author's peers, and they have had a chance to question and give feedback, and that author's had a chance to make edits and revise, and so we know that it's a quality piece, not just merely someone's opinion, but there's some research basis to it. So those are the 4 pieces that we had in Module 1. As you move into module 2 and just skim through those assignments, you will see it's the same process, the same order. It's a different topic. Now we're talking about the systems of support that we have for developing curriculum and instructional strategies and those types of things in a district. And so we're going to look at that process. And again, what, from your perspective on that video, from the job that you have right now, what do you think about the systems of support? And so you can expect, as you look at people's thoughts in the discussion board, that, you know, if they're in a different position than you're in, they may have some different thoughts. And it may be that they're in a position, this is something I found as I changed my roles within a district, was that as my role changed, there were new experiences and there was new knowledge and requirements that I learned were part of the process that I didn't know before. But at the same time, with my focus on that new learning and what I was required to do, there were also things about my former position that I sort of set aside and forgot about, that someone doing that position, doing that job then in that role, might have reminded me, you know, Kathy, think about this. Do you remember how hard such and such and such was? And so everybody has information to bring to the table on this so that we can have a good conversation in the discussion post. So, but those are topics that have to do, that video has to do with just your personal, at the beginning of discussion of this, where you stand today, what do you think? And then you're going to do that reading, you're going to, for the critical analysis, you may learn some new things you didn't know before, or it may trigger in you some thoughts that you hadn't thought about before. Then the discussion post is going to give you some new perspectives, possibly from your peers in the class. And then finally, you're going to do your reflection again and your literature review about the systems of support for the instructional program leadership of a school district. And so we're starting to take that point of view of the school district, but keeping in mind all of the people who work toward that within the district. Now, when we get to module 3, we're going to be talking about being culturally responsive in as we design curriculum and as we support academic and non-academic student programs, and thinking about putting all of this information that we have into the context of the culture that we are working in. Some of us may have gone to urban schools during our upbringing, and then we went to maybe a large college, and then we get a job in a rural district. That's going to be a very different type of context that you're working in, a different kind of culture. Vice versa, also different kind of culture. Maybe you end up in a different geographic location. And so we want to be thinking about those things. Along the same line, within that culture, we have we have diversity. We have people with different backgrounds and students at different levels of academic skill, or maybe prior academic learning that they come in, because we have a lot of transiency in our school districts. And so we also want to consider the idea of equity. Are we providing equitable educational opportunities to all of our students, and how do we make sure that we're building that into our programs? So that's what our module 3 is about. In that set of assignments, as you look at it, you will see, again, you're going to start with that video. So we always begin with, what's our personal experience to this point? What are our thoughts right now? Then you're going to do the critical analysis. You'll have some things to read, some things possibly to view. You're going to write a critical analysis of those topics. And then you'll write your discussion based on that. But in this one, instead of a literature review and a reflection, you are going to do a lesson or assessment redesign. So what you will do is you will obtain, if you're not in the classroom right now, you may need to go back possibly to someone in the content area that you were teaching before you went into administration, and select an assessment or a lesson plan from that content area. So we're just talking one lesson plan or one assessment. And then you are to submit the original lesson plan or assessment, along with, if it's an assessment, the rubric to score it. You're going to submit those in their original form, plus you're going to revise either the lesson plan or assessment, whichever you choose, to be more culturally responsive and equitable. And you will apply all of those thoughts that you have had as you've gone through the module to the redesigned document, and you'll submit it in its rubric also. So if it's an assessment, you'll have the rubric. So you get to choose which one you want, and you're going to actually apply what you've been learning and thinking about to that. Now, the reason that I wanted to mention this is I want you to be prepared for sort of the sea change. I know it's summertime, and so it can be difficult sometimes if you are trying to find documents that aren't usually on your bookshelf or in your files on your computer. You may need to contact a teacher, peer, or friend, or someone in the district to get the documents that you need so that you can do this work. So I want you to have the time to be able to get in touch with them and obtain those things that you need to be able to do the work. Likewise, in Module 4. Module 4 has to do with the integration of technology into the process. And boy, are we learning a lot about that right now, because it's a must do. So this is very pertinent to us right now. It will follow the same pattern, except that you will have, I believe, and I may have made an error here, so I will check this out. I know that you have the initial video to give your thoughts where you are in the beginning. I know you have a discussion post to do. You may have a critical analysis paper. For some reason, I don't have that listed here, but nope, that's right, you don't. You don't have a critical analysis. Instead, and this is another thing that I wanted you to know ahead of time, there are two pieces in this module that I wanted you to know ahead of time. Instead, you will do an interview with the tech coordinator in your school district. I know we do have one higher ed student who you'll need to talk to somebody in the tech department at your organization, at your university, and do your interview with them. So you're going to need to have time to plan a common time that you all can visit, and you can do that interview, and that will be a recorded interview that you will submit in that in Module 4. Also, the final assignment in Module 4 is more or less a culminating event. I think of it more as a final. It's called the key assessment for this course. And so it is one that we, as at the university level, we will also, not only will I score this for you, but there's the possibility that your assignment, not linked to your name, but just how you've responded to it, might be reviewed to see how we're doing in the course, providing students with the information that they need to be able to apply all of the Standard 4 from the NELP standards to actual learning, or their actual learning to actual work. So in that assignment, we're going to ask for you to redesign the scope and sequence of either a part of a course, a certain level, like if it's a grade level, you might choose scope and sequence for mathematics for the 3rd grade. Or it might be the scope and sequence for, if you're at the high school or middle school level, it might be fifth grade mathematics, it might be Algebra 1 if you're at the high school level, and you're going to redesign the scope and sequence using all of Standard 4 from the NELP standards as your guide. And so I wanted you to know that specifically the lesson or assessment redesign in Module 3 is coming. Interview with the tech coordinator for Module 4 is coming. And then this redesign of a scope and sequence for a course or for a grade level subject area is coming up in Module 4 also, because those are going to require you to possibly obtain, like I said, documents that you don't just have at your fingertips, that you may need to contact someone in your district or your organization, or you need to set up an appointment with someone to do an interview. So I want you to have time to think about those things and get those things prepared as we move through the semester. And if you've got any questions on any of those, again, let me know. I will be happy to help you out. Okay, so that's our housekeeping for the week. Going forward, looking back, assignments were due last night at midnight. Like I said, there are a few of you who are going to submit some things to me a little bit later due to the circumstances of life. And I will be looking for those. I will be grading over the next few days. And so you should begin to see scores populating on your grade book section of your Canvas shell. If you have any questions for me about that, any concerns, let me know. There are some automatic settings in the grade book that will sometimes highlight a grade to show that it's late or something like that. I will just tell you right now, as long as we've discussed an assignment coming in late, I'm going to grade it as if it's on time, as long as we've agreed to that ahead of time. So don't be concerned about the highlighted coding. I will manage all of that at the appropriate time before grades are pulled up. So I don't want anyone to be concerned or worried about that. I would encourage you to please, when I send an email, if you don't have time to read it right then, make yourself a note to go back and read it thoroughly. I'm not going to include information that's trivial. So if it's long, it means that all of it needs to be there, and it's all information you'll probably need later. And it might save you waiting on me to respond to a question for you later. It might be that the answer's in the email. But if you don't find the answer or you're not clear on what I've said in my email about a question that you have, don't hesitate. Again, don't hesitate to let me know and to call me. So in Module 2, I think I've sort of already covered that. We are going to be talking about systems of support. What all is involved when you are creating curriculum, when you are developing academic programs, when you are developing non-academic student programs in schools. What's involved? You know, is it just, you know, if you're the high school math teacher, the single soul, all by yourself math teacher in a rural district, is it just all on you to develop the math program for, let's say, for high school? Or, you know, what's the process? And some of you are going to be very familiar with that, and some of you may not. And depending on the different places that you're from and your district, you will find that there are some commonalities, and you'll find that there are some differences. And so we want to know, what are the best practices being recommended today? What are sort of best practices. I'll just say best practices. I was trying to think of gold standard. In the medical field, they talk about the gold standard and following those best practices. What are the things that we all should know, no matter where you are? We need to do them in the context of that place. And so as you're reading and looking at those things, I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope that you find some new things that are exciting for you and get you excited about the process of curriculum writing. Most of the students in this class, I believe, work in the state of Missouri, and we have, it can be a blessing and it can be a curse. We are a local control state. So when it comes to curriculum development and instructional program leadership and all of those types of things, we do that at the local level. If you are going to conferences with neighboring states, you will find out that there are states around us that are not local control states, and the way that their curriculum decisions are made and their instructional program leadership is done is not left to the local level. And so like I said, it's a blessing and a curse, because the blessing is that we really do get to contextualize things. We get to have a lot of say in what we do. The curse is that means it's a lot of work for us. Sometimes if you're in a local or in a state that does not have local control, and the state level is handing down, they're prescribing what's going to happen, that can be a blessing, because you don't have to make those decisions. But if we think about the curses, there you don't get to have your own input. You're doing what someone else has told you to do. And so anyway, just something to think about. Another little thing to put in the back of your mind as you're looking at the research out there. You may hear my dogs barking in the background. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great week, and I just want you to know to call me, text me, email me if you have any questions. And happy reading, and I hope you enjoy your next couple of weeks, and I'll be getting your grades out soon. Thanks.